Hello everyone, Reverend Kelly here, and today we're going to discuss Israelite cults. And the reason we're doing so is I had done a couple of videos about Pastor Dowell and the facts, and I'll say it again, Pastor Dowell, the facts that he is a cult leader and a communist. Now everybody that I've seen come along have been taking the attitude that somehow I have said something bad about this person named Pastor Charles Dowell. Did I? By pointing out the facts. And these are facts. These are facts. Pastor Dowell would never dare even dispute these facts because he cannot. Can't dispute them. And he refuses to acknowledge them. Therefore, there's something seriously wrong with what he has going on at Straightway. To have to hide in the darkness about the simple fundamental principles of being an Israelite, or I should say mimicking the Israelites of long ago. Because hey, those people exiled, they were so evil and nasty and wicked, they were destroyed. The Israelite nation does not exist except for in the minds of people like Pastor Dowell. But let's get back to the messed that word up, didn't I? The fundamental principles of an Israelite and the original Israel, which was started by a man named Jacob, the deceiver. Now, excuse me, my nose is awfully itchy today. Alright, let's start at the beginning here. Now, as I recall, there was a man named Jacob, which is one of the patriarchs of this religion that people call Judaism, but he created the Israelite nation. And some people in and of itself, in their references of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as though somehow it's just one God, but it's not. It's many gods. It's a pantheon of gods. Anyhow, that in and of itself is a cult. Those people are raised up, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are raised up like somehow they were some type of special people. And that's what cults do. They make people that were either real or they make myths and they raise them up to godlike status and that they were special type people. That's what cults do. And they are involved in the occult. And the occult is people attempting to contact the supernatural. These supernatural beings that either they're myths or they're people that are dead. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they all died. Yeshua HaMashiach, he died. Now people want to say, well, he's back here, he's the Holy Spirit, he's this, he's that. Well, again, now you're trying to connect the spiritual world and you're trying to make contact with the supernatural, and that is the occult. There's no two ways about it. Those are facts. Now, your religion may not be teaching you this. They're trying to teach you that, well, we do something different. No, you're not doing anything different. The Israelites said, well, we're doing something different. No, they weren't doing anything different. You know, when the language came and translated from Hebrew to Greek to English, just at the Greek stop, where it stopped at the Greek, they started altering things. By the time it made it to the English, there were so many words that were just listed as Lord and God, it covered up and it hid the pantheon of gods, which were easily identified just by the simple word Elohim. Elohim is a plural word, and it means children of El. It's not a singular word. It's a plural word. And in the very beginning of the book that you call Genesis, which is called Bereshit, in the very beginning, the very first verse, it says that the Elohim fattened the land and the sky. And that's a reference to many gods of the pantheons. But also there's further relation that's going on there that happened. But I should hold on a moment because I'm going to end up going off course and this video will be taking too long. So let's get back to the cults that the Israelites were involved in, that Pastor Dowell is involved in, because they have names. They have names, and that's how I can identify that Pastor Dowell is a cult leader, simply because he's claiming to be an Israelite and following the Bible. I'd say the Torah, but he's not reading Hebrew, so he's not really following the Torah. He's following a Greek version that got changed into English version. So could he even be a true Israelite if he doesn't even read the Hebrew? It seems like it should be impossible, but it's not, because he's following the same system, the same cult system that's in place. Now that does come through. Even though the single word, the multiple gods are changed to a single god, the cult method still does come through. And that's what Pastor Dowell follows. But here's some names for you to show you. First of all, cult of Ale. Does anybody know what that has to do with? Ale was a god that was attached to the planet Saturn. Now, people who are worshippers of Saturn or Ale, and Ale was also associated with Kronos, but only because Kronos was another god, a Greek god, that was associated with Saturn. Now, people that worship Saturn have their Sabbath day on what day? Saturday, Saturn Day. And they make a real special point that this is the proper day to have their Sabbath. They make an extra special point, and they say that the people, the Christians that worship on Sunday, not only are they wrong, but they're worshiping the sun. They may very well be doing that. That Sunday references does have to do with the planet, the sun, or the star of the sun, whatever you want to call the sun. They'd like to say that they're worshiping Jesus Christ, who is the sun, but it's a sun reference. But the Saturday reference is the worship of Saturn, or a god that comes from Saturn. They're not really worshiping the planet Saturn. They're worshiping these mythological gods that came from Saturn. And if they're an Israelite, the name of that god was El. That god was then substituted. That god was substituted with Yahweh. And Yahweh was a Canaanite god of war. That's why you see that these people are very militant. Well, if you read the Bible, you'll see how militant and warlike they were. And that's why they liked the Yahweh God, because that God was a God of war. They could go conquer other people's lands and murder people and steal, and then keep their terrorist religion going. And yes, I say terrorist religion. The religion of Israel is a terrorist religion. It is the first religion that is identified in writing to be terrorist in nation. And they terrorize the women, and they terrorize the children of their community, and they always have right from the beginning. And the evidence is where where Abraham had taken his son Isaac to a place called the land of the razor. And you know that story where he took him to sacrifice him, to murder him. See, they use these words sacrifice because they want you to accept this ritual stuff that they're involved in, and that it's all about this evil blood sacrifice, nasty stuff. They want you to find it acceptable in any way, shape, or form. If they can say, well, God came here, and therefore it was okay that these people killed them who were our descendants because it was God and it had to be, and that sets man free. Baloney. And that's a kind way of putting it. Baloney. They were evil, murderers, and terrorists. They still are today. Now, the people will dispute with me and say, well, those people in Israel aren't from the same blood lineage line. Who gives a crap? They're doing the same thing. That's why they're there. That's why they're there. And you're supposed to learn something from that, okay? You're supposed to learn something from that. You know, the curses that were put on the original people were put on there because of the evil behavior. Now, some people say, well, look at you, white man. Your people were evil behavior because your people treated the Israelites, who are the black man, very bad. Therefore, you must have things put down on you. Sorry, pal. Game's almost over. And I'm not just the average white guy. I'm not just the average white guy. Because my blood lineage goes right back to the same place yours does. You will say, wow, this guy's of Esau, and yeah, we're Jacob, he's Esau, blah, 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 blah. No, actually, you could say my blood lineage goes back to both Jacob and Esau. Just because my skin's light doesn't change that fact. Anyhow, the same way I determined that is the same way that you determined that you were an Israelite. I don't claim to be an Israelite. Hey, listen, parrot, listen. I do not claim to be an Israelite. Israelites were evil, nasty, vile people. And they deserved to be exiled. Actually, they deserved to have been exterminated. That's what they deserved to have done to them back at that point in time. They deserved to be exterminated. That's how evil and nasty and vile they were. Instead, they were just cast out into the lands. And as we see, slavery happened and all that stuff, because that's where you're claiming you came from, Pastor Dowell. Anyhow, back to the cults. El Elyon, there's a cult for you. God the Most High. The Most High. You say that all the time. The Most High, the Most High, the Most High. Well, El Elyon was the god in the Canaanite pantheon that also became a substitute for who? El, the original god. But more importantly, Saturn, which is where the power actually comes from. And anybody that actually knows what's going on with any of those cults and the things that they do knows that the physical power does come from the planet of Saturn. I'm not saying from the gods, that these evil, mythological, nasty gods. No, that's not true. Saturn is about organization. Saturn has prosperity. Organization is very important. Saturn likes title. Not like you people about this praise, because that's all to feed the Satan inside you. That's why you people are all into that. That feeds the Satan inside you. Okay? That's not the power of Saturn. But you guys really don't know what's going on. The only thing you know how to do is, you're con men. Alright? You know how to sell used cars. You know how to rob people. You know how to swindle people. That's just what we've observed. What we haven't observed, God only knows. And I'm using the name God loosely, because I'm using it in the form that you would have known at this point. You probably don't even know. You're not even all that educated. And I'm going to give you that break, that you're ignorant. But I've told you now, and you're responsible for that information. The cult of God in and of itself. Who was that? That was the seventh son of Jacob identified. That cult was around before Jacob's seventh son was, though. It was a pretty big cult. It was a cult built on prosperity. They probably also adhered to Saturn and did things in an incremental manner. In a structural, incremental manner, and they got prosperity. Hey, but anyhow, El Elyon, the Most High, was a substitute for El, the power source, not the evil, nasty God that your people worship. He was the Satan. But he's your Most High. He's your Most High. And you can tell that it's the Satan God, and that you know it's the Satan God because You're also the cult of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the cult of deception. There's no two ways about these things. These are facts. These are facts. Undisputable facts. I have not found one person yet anywhere that can dispute those facts. They can try to cover them up. They make excuses. They take the conversation somewhere else. They get like Pastor Dowell and they get all, oh, well, he's attacking me. He's an enemy. And I got my gun and it has a red laser on it. And this is the way people did things back in the old days of honor. Well, how come you bought a piece of shit laser anyhow? The Laser Maxes are much better. I've always preferred a Laser Max laser. You know, this one on the side, the laser on the side, that's not a good laser. That's not a good laser. No. The one right in the middle of the barrel, the Laser Max, that's the better laser. If you're in the military, you should know that's the better laser. But anyhow, enough going off track with that nonsense. You know, because that's a recent nonsense that I heard coming out of Pastor Dowell's mouth. Which, by the way, people that do know Pastor Dowell firsthand, even though I don't know Pastor Dowell firsthand, people that do know Pastor Dowell firsthand has explicitly told people this is how he will behave. He will make videos that insinuate certain things about certain people. Typically to embarrass them or make them afraid or something of that nature. Now, I would like to tell those people if they watch this video, there's a simple reason for that. He's a sociopath, and that's how sociopaths operate. That's how they operate. Anyhow, what's this about? Cults? Most people don't even have a clue. They're part of one. They're in one. Their families have been in them for generations. Do they know what one is? No. So that's where Pastor Dowell is right. That 90% or more of the population is totally clueless. And he's taken advantage of that.